No.
They had a red that passed.
It's 6 o'clock.
I got a text from
But anyway,
Turn your,
so she said, is it what?
Sarah's.
You should try it, you know, it looks good. So then I asked her, I wasn't sure if it was a Thompson Box, so I said, where is it?
Yeah, toss and
The
sauce.
deck side, I have hard to read.
It is hard to read.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't even know what it says. I thought it was beer brew.
Me too.
Well, yeah, wait for
Well, you
the.
know, the mushroom place do it too.
Yeah,
They're
what's
funny.
that?
Well, they need underground, so they must be.
Me.
So we have to stand so they can say.
I'll give another
Oh, sorry.
Christmas present.
Do you have to say something?
No, that's what they could do. I can't hear.
All set?
Yes.
I'll make it.
Yeah.
me too. And then we're in session.
We are in session. We're gonna do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the fit. Thank you. That was just the one. Which
I'm
turned
actually
out to
gonna
be
make
less
it, change my hair plan. Because I don't get out
All right.
enough.
Wow, are you reading today?
Oh,
Yeah, you wanna do all?
Yes, yeah.
This one's pretty simple.
That would be wonderful.
Christine Belanger, 70437,
Perfect.
and Kristen Patch, 45491. Oh,
And I
that
see
was easy.
this.
I pass it up.
Calls it twice a year.
Well, it's not true.
That was a total of $1,159.28. This one will pass it.
You were doing something else.
This one will go quickly.
I'm never gonna hear them.
No, with my hearing aids, I cannot.
Can you hear with the speaker back there?
No,
Oh, no, it should be coming over the speakers for you.
no.
No?
Speak good about us.
Can you hear me?
Oh, they have to video.
Maybe you just keep talking, maybe you just.
You want me to do it really loud?
That's
It'd be
good.
very loud.
It's good.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
It should be coming over.
George Abel, 999.10. Eleanor Cherry is 875.14. Andrea Bickens is 575.71. Joseph Bird is 580 or 592.50 or 892.55. Gloria Bendera Becerra is 462.23. Andrea Chaldner is 244.08. Karen Hunt is $1,035.21. Melissa Sanuski is $292.76. Michael Dam is $729.95. Kiki Downs Wall is $149.84. Pamela Ford, what do you got?
292.76, yes? Yes.
And then $149.84.
Yes.
And Pamela Frederick is $57.26.
Yep.
Robert Gagnon is $662.29. Kenneth Gothier is $763.11. Andrew Gray is $516.80. Mary Lyons Hall is $64.64. Kip Kaiser is $756.19. Joyce Keeble is $531.13. Kevin Newland is $718.17. Stephanie Lazat-Curto is $244.08. Heather Lindsay is $591.14. Francis McGinnis is $816.35. Abigail Minor is $18.47. Rachel Mowbray is $83.11. Jeremy Potter is $508.99. Julissa Polanco is $664.43. Wayne Robinson $793.75. Sean Seeley is $164.35. Katrina Tennant is $485.98. Joshua Turner is $163.06. Olivia Wald is $24.94. Daniel Wicks is $1,266.18. Janice Weirs is $22.26.99. Jeremy Worcester is $434.87. And last is Daphne Wass at $659.75.
For a grand total of $19,472.60.
For a grand total of $20,631.88. Oh, we bought it? So do I have to announce it, or no?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just read this one. We got a check for $86,910 for the highway department to pick up a new truck. It's made out to Howard E. Fairfield LLC. And, ready?
Yes.
Ace is $44.53. AHA Training Center Extra Hospital is $12. Brentwood Newsletter Fund is $800. Chapel Tractor Sales is $35.68. Citizens Bank is $8. Karen Clement is $98.49. C&M Cleaning, $1,336.67. Comcast, $412.05. E&J Auto Parts is $566.58. Eversource is $18.87. Hartman Oil and Propane is $2,433.46. Health Trust Inc. is $12.50. Joyce Kegel is $12.96. New Hampshire Building Office Association is $35. New Hampshire Fish and Game is $430.50. New Hampshire Retirement System, $26,470.38. Northeast Electrical Distributors, $63. North of Boston Media Group is $325.26. Bernard Waste Systems is $16,345.48. Armand Networks is $2,614. Rockingham County Treasurers, $592,678. Seacoast Security is $162. Starkey Welding is $802.25. Title Communications LLC is $203.69. Union Leader Corporation is $124.40. Valak is $271.45. And Varsity Wireless Investors LLC is $2,987.50. And Daphne Wass is $27.35.
For a total of $649,332.05.
We had 10.5 hours of overtime in the PD, we had 3.5 hours in the fire department, 0 on the highway, and 0 EMS calls missed.
And 2 void checks.
Yes.
We have 4 rec checks.
One of the voids is the original Verizon Varsity Wireless, but secret in this place.
Do I have a motion for the minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And do I have a motion for the non-public?
So moved.
Seal the minutes? Do I have a second? All in favor? John, the floor is yours.
That stuff covers. I know you do.
Go ahead.
I want to fill full table. Oh, if we got a school thing. I didn't hear you groan for a second.
Well, yeah, I can't have to use
I know.
I can't really say anything about the credit.
All right, so the tax dollars continue to roll in, $1,985,000. You heard the payables for the county and the truck, among other things. I had initially moved $1,215,000 into our reserve, only to have Wayne come in and say, I need $75,000. I had to take some back. I told you last week.
Yeah. Maine's coming up the works.
Anyhow, we're up to 6.263 million in money to last us the next 6 months. And there's still more to come in by tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want this?
Mr. Kipp, come on down.
Remember, you have to find the light switch.
No problem.
Inside joke, I
Evening all.
How you doing?
Okay, first, 42 Crawley Falls Road, Sal Remise, and this is for a sign. Next, we have 8 Wilson Way. And this was Victor Levesque. And this one is electrical for a finished basement. Next, we have 55 Robinson, Claudia White. And this is wiring for a finished basement. .55 Homestead Lane, Michael Sanborn, and this is for an in-ground pool.
Skip, I won't see that.
That's actually all that I have for you tonight. I'm working on a few things, but it's gonna take another week to get through.
And we were, just so everyone's aware, I discussed with Kip briefly, and talked to Ken down in the other room with darkness back there, to check out the road, and maybe Wayne went through the road for 3 ponds. It just seems narrow, and I'm not sure if it's because they're putting the granite curbing in.
The main road was wide enough, but there's just a road that goes down over that bridge that's not as wide.
Well, I'm just worried about like
Emergency vehicles.
emergency vehicles, and then, I just don't know how it's gonna work with that granite curbing that they put in there, because it makes you kind of feel like you're holding.
I'll have to check that, I didn't see the curb in there.
They just started putting it in,
They
it's
just
straight
put
up and
it in.
down, it's not squared off.
Should have,
So,
Who inspects the road?
Steve Cummings.
Steve Cummings.
you got that, chief, maybe Jason wants to take a look at that too.
Make sure
Yeah, we talked,
sure
I
the
talked
road's
to
wide
the
enough
chief
for
earlier.
emergency vehicles and stuff.
How would that work with, we talked a little earlier today, how would that work with the fire truck down there?
They're tight anyway, the roads. I don't know, there again, I don't know what was agreed to for a spec going in on those roads, so.
Okay. So who reached out to Steve Cummings, is that something we should?
So,
Can we, so just ask her how we can do that, please? And then we're gonna go in with this.
I think we could have planning board look at what was agreed to, and Wayne can go measure it before we.
Check it out, yeah. Because I was concerned when I drove through, I was like, wow, it's kind of tight thing.
As long as it's over 18 feet, we're all set. We go down to Leo Wing, I do Brow Road East, a little over 18 feet down there. And I
With the granite curb or without?
What's that?
With the granite curb or without?
Granite curbs on both sides. We go down through the wing and come back out.
As long as you can check it out, that would be good.
Is that wide enough for the truck? Well, it's whatever was agreed to in the planning board, so it can't be any narrower than what they're saying.
No.
So,
Cable franchise, we have to do that to the public meeting.
yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have to announce that we're doing the public grant.
Yes.
So I'm going to open up a public hearing for the cable franchise agreement. Yeah, I just want to have them take a look at that first. Especially since it was
Well, that basically should just be read out loud.
okay. You want to read it, Bill, since you're reading it? Okay.
So the renewal license
Instead of handing it all over.
is for everybody. This is
I'm sorry,
Comcast.
but
This
it's
is
still not
Comcast.
coming through,
I'll try and be loud.
pardon me?
I'll try and be loud so you can
Okay,
hear.
great.
So the renewal license, I guess somebody's asked for a senior discount. So Comcast has responded by saying that we could definitely have a senior discount. Comcast will offer a discount of $2 off its monthly digital starter rate, or that which most closely resembles the digital starter rate as of the rate card in effect as of the renewal license time. The discount will be provided to those subscribers aged 65 or older, who are heads of household and are income eligible. And then we're opening this public hearing, so I guess it's open to public comment.
Yeah, what's the income eligible, did they say what that?
65 and older, and they don't say what's the income. Do we know what that is, what the income level is?
Since they're putting that condition in there, it tells me
They
that
put that
there's a
condition in
stipulation.
They
What
say
it says,
$2.
yes.
So for $2, you have to somehow solve it.
Although
That's a separate addendum that the board would agree upon.
You have a question?
Hi, I was just
You just need
wondering,
to state your name and.
oh, okay, Eleanor McLaughlin, I live in Mill Pond Crossing, 15 Mill Pond Road. So I've been to the town office a couple of times to ask about this, because I had heard, either read or had heard that Comcast does negotiate with towns for senior discounts. So, but the town has to negotiate, not the individual.
Right.
So, actually, I think I sat down with you, Bill, to want to talk about this one. So that's like ridiculous, $2. I mean, I don't know if the town can negotiate in their seniors' favor. I mean, the seniors that live in this town, we pay full taxes, we have no kids in the school. So it's like, we really don't get anything for being seniors, you know what I mean? I mean, yes, they do get the assessments on their homes, but that's a very, very low income. Really doesn't help a lot of the seniors in town. So if the town, I'm just asking if the town could maybe try to work on our behalf to see if they can get more of a discount for us.
Yeah, we can, right? We can
Negotiate.
tell them that's laughable, $2 off the basic rate. That's
I'd love for
laughable.
them to give me a call.
when
I've said that multiple times. Call me.
when do you have to negotiate with them?
Our project is starting in February, so we'll be working, so we have to have the public hearing and then we'll start with the contract. Comcast is going to draft agreement and then we'll start negotiating whether we want to increase franchise fees or negotiate discounts. We can't talk about any other rates or programs or beyond that.
Yeah, because one of the things that I would like to know from them is I want them to tell me what the income eligibility is.
Because requires.
I mean, and that shouldn't be
There
the
shouldn't be-
criteria.
Because that's the criteria
Yeah.
for $2, you
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
income eligibility is one of the requirements, so.
Well, for
what's
most
the income?
state programs, I believe it's like 36.5 for a couple.
Doesn't matter.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
I mean, this is
That's a
private, I
different-
mean,
That's a
they,
different, yeah, that's a different.
they charge exorbitant.
Bob, didn't they say over 65 or?
No.
No,
Oh, no.
it's who are heads of household and are, now it's 10, can you hear 10? Or are income eligible.
Yeah, that shouldn't be in there.
No.
It says or though.
No, it says and are income eligible.
So
Are-
heads of household that are
Says-
income eligible or
So it says
65.
the discount will
No,
be
and
provided to
are.
those subscribers aged 65, parentheses 65, or older, who are heads of household and are income eligible.
So you have to
Which
be
means
both.
your stipulation is you're
To
gonna
be
be
all,
both.
all three.
You have to be
65 and income
And
eligible.
or.
So understand that that's Comcast's opening position.
Okay, right.
So, well, we talked about before. is-
So we agree that's laughable. So go back and
So
say that's
I'll go
laughable.
back and I'll ask them to give us the services for free, and then we'll start negotiating.
Sounds good.
Because that's my negotiation start process.
Because, I mean, they're probably thrilled that they have a monopoly on this town, so.
That's my
We
next
have
question.
leverage, you know.
We have a question.
Yes.
You need to say
Now,
your
when
name
you
and.
do.
Your name
Say
and
name.
address.
Oh, Phyllis Paradise, 34 Birch Circle, Mill Pond Crossing. Now, if when you negotiate this and it goes through, we are going to have to call Comcast and get a form to fill out?
I'll find out more once I talk to them.
Because
I volunteered to
it's
be in the
for-
victim circumstance to talk to them, so.
Can I have your name, please? I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm Bob Montegary,
Thank you. You'll have to spell your last name for me.
Mantegari. And I'm all over the website.
Okay, thank you.
Are all of you from Mill Pond Crossing?
We are.
Yeah.
Do you want to designate one point of contact from your
I'll be that.
neighborhood? And then any information I get, I can contact you.
That would be
and you can pass on
wonderful.
to your neighbors? So you can just give me your name and address and your phone number after. So it's not-
Okay. And I have a question also.
Sure, go ahead.
Is there,
You have to state your name.
oh, that's right.
Just keep reminding us.
Because this is going out.
I know.
And everybody sees it.
My name is Janice Duffy. I live on 33 Birch Circle, Mill Pond. And I was wondering, because it seems to be a monopoly, is there any way to get a competitor to bid, or is that off the,
I think it's who owns the line.
that's what I thought.
And I think the problem is trying to get a competitor, and I think FIOS tried coming in several years ago,
Okay.
but that fizzled.
Probably infrastructure stuff that they have.
The
Comcast has those
infrastructure, yeah,
boxes everywhere and.
yeah, I don't know how
Yeah,
that whole,
okay.
yes, Liz?
Liz Faria, South Road, what is the deal we have for them, with them now versus the deal that we might get?
Yeah, contractual rate, right?
I mean, because ours is really high, so I'm trying to,
We don't, the
Oh, that's
contract
it.
that we have doesn't negotiate rates of programming. It's, one point of, that they have is, the franchise fee, that's a revenue source to the town. So that's one component that could affect rates.
so they pay a franchise fee to be allowed to charge us an exorbitant rate?
Well, they pay a franchise fee to the town in order to allow their infrastructure to be in.
And I'm sure if you look at your bill, there's the fee that we're
But the-
implying they're paying.
The maximum fee that's allowed is 5%, and we're at 3%, so we're not at the max. So if the board were to agree to increase it to the 5% to increase revenue, then you would see that increase in your bills, so that Comcast could.
So they're
raise
just
that
passing it back on to us?
Correct.
They're
They
not?
just pass that on to the subscribers.
So if we go to 5%, your bill's going up 5%.
Correct.
So what if we go lower?
Well, then you're decreasing the revenue to the town, so then that's
Well,
that balance.
you're not getting the revenue if they're billing us for it, they're getting it back, right?
Right, but if we decrease the revenue that the town's receiving now, your bills would go down, but then you would see the decrease in revenue on the town side, which would affect your tax rate.
So what's the,
Well,
you know,
we're not-
it's
Maybe out,
this
maybe
pocket
later.
or that pocket. Okay,
That's
so
22.
you say it's 3% now.
Correct,
So they pay 3%.
to the town,
Okay, 3% of what? 3% of whatever
of your
we,
subscriber fees.
so if somebody's is 200 and somebody else's is 140 and somebody else's
Pay
is
3% of it.
3% of
Kinda like a
all that
sales
put
tax.
together.
It works out to be about 40 grand a year in revenue for the
Yeah,
town.
it's like a sales tax, basically.
And it's 40K a year right now?
It is.
Yeah.
See, you know.
Are they trying
Is
to,
this where you would negotiate
I'll
them
do
to
it.
give us a?
See, if the town gets more,
Yeah, basically, that's
we're
what
gonna
it
pay more.
Yeah.
Remember though, when we were speaking to them,
Are you two
And
and
if
nine
the fee goes
something?
down, our taxes.
the FCC has a new rule that went into effect in October, that they can no longer give freebies to municipalities.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes, right, so they're taking away the service from the library and the school.
Oh, really? So now we have to pay for those services?
They're taking it away.
Did you all hear that?
No.
No,
the FCC in October passed a new rule that does no longer allow cable providers to give free services to municipalities. Currently, we receive free library and school. So eventually that will go away based on, I believe it's FCC Rule 65.
So we'll start having to pay that.
so what are they proposing for the new thing? Are they proposing just to keep on the 3% or?
Well,
They haven't
we haven't
proposed
started negotiating. We had to have this hearing first,
Uh-huh.
and then we will go to them, have them come in, and we will sit down and negotiate.
And one of the things that they just said is it can definitely have a senior discount, and that they offer $2 off its monthly digital starter rate
$2 is ridiculous.
if you're 65 and older, are heads of a household and income
broke.
eligible. Which means you can't pay for the
So,
service.
so you understand that the purpose of this hearing is to get input from the public so that we will have a position to take when we sit down at the table with Comcast.
Okay, so we want 65 and older, at least $20 off the bill, and no income eligibility. I don't know, I'm speaking for me.
I
How do
want
you guys
free.
sound?
I agree.
I
Okay.
want free, but now I know
Well,
that
we
they
can't
can't
do
give it to
free. I'm not
municipalities,
asking
so. But you gotta start somewhere. So
Right,
you
so
start
there
at
we
the
go.
bottom, they're gonna start at the top, and hopefully you can
Okay.
be in the middle.
But the income eligibility has to go, no, almost nobody in Brentwood would have
We have
service.
a question.
Yeah, Robert Poulin, 15 Mill Pond Road. Are there any figures that would tell us or tell you how many seniors are in Brentwood that this would affect? How big of a majority are we?
Getting more by the minute though with the new
I mean,
development.
are there many that this would affect, are they? Do we know?
Well, the new development's 55 and older, which I think Mill Pond is 55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on this board, it would affect Phyllis.
But I have,
That's incorrect. On this board, it would affect Phyllis, it would affect me, it would affect him.
I don't claim being your senior.
Although my hair makes me
Depends
look
on what
like
the
I'm a
income
senior, I'm not.
but I have direct
Well,
TV, I don't have.
based on age, it would affect this side of the table,
Yeah.
That's all
but
you-
we don't, what the income level is, we may all be in.
That's the other thing, actually, I don't think we could get, I don't even think in our development and probably maybe the new development to the Three Ponds, I don't know if we could get direct TV.
We can't have any
Oh, we
outside.
can't, right?
No, we can't have a dish.
I live in the woods and I have it.
No,
No,
I'm just-
it's not allowed by
It's
our
for bylaws.
It's condo rules.
Oh.
So we really have no choice, I mean, we have to, go
But do they know that is the question? Could you say all the six, all the 60?
No, they don't know that because I've called
Well,
them.
now, they might now, because we're live streaming, but,
Yeah, that's true.
but if you could say all the 65 are thinking of en masse going over to,
Let me ask
direct
you a
TV or dish or
dumb
something.
question. Couldn't you revisit the bylaws, the condo rule that you have?
Sorry, the reason I'm laughing is.
Is that more ridiculous than $2 off?
Yes,
Yes,
it is
yes.
very difficult.
It's very difficult, lawyers.
Not gonna happen, not gonna have dishes on our house.
It has to go through the state.
Because the state overlooks us as well, and so everything is very complicated.
And you gotta hire lawyers to change your bylaws, you can't just vote them.
It's a common thing in most condominiums, it isn't just particular to us. You can't go hang things in building, there's all these rules you have to follow.
Right.
It's just how it is.
Although the clotheslines are coming
It's
back.
like another governmental entity within your,
Yeah.
Oh, it's more than that.
Yeah.
with a lot of oversight.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other comments on Comcast? And we have to leave the hearing and take over for a half hour, right?
Yep.
What time do we start?
6:15.
Did I get everything?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's still open.
I don't think I have his name.
Yeah, so it's still open for another
If you think
17 minutes.
Think of anything else you
Can't
want.
hear.
Still open for 17 minutes if you have anything else to
17
talk
minutes.
about.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
hear.
You want to go to
Sure.
17 minutes.
Oh, Bob, before you switch, can I just make one more comment, Liz, for you, Sandra? The school and the library, I'm trying to negotiate, since it can't be free, a very low rate for those as well.
Well, Liz, it's an FCC rule.
No, I know it can't be free, but I mean, if he's negotiating,
Oh, okay.
to negotiate something low.
Yeah, like,
Dollar's not free.
$2, I'm thinking $2 is good. $2 for the
$2
library,
if
everything
they're
else
out
is
there
cool.
with seniors, you want me to get to them instead?
Yeah, that's good.
Welcome, Wayne.
How you doing, Wayne? What do we got going on? What do we do with your budget?
It looks pretty good.
It looks pretty table,
We're
doesn't it?
gonna do that budget, you're gonna
So-
say.
You don't know.
So total from highway,
17 minutes, these are-
It looks like
We're
it's a
gonna do that budget.
$55,000 decrease. Not counting the still on that.
did you put aside?
What do you think we're gonna decrease?
Oh, wrong side.
So Wayne and I met, to discuss his salary.
Yeah.
So did you talk to his wife?
Yeah.
So he does want to make that all a salary instead of the bonus. He spoke to his wife.
Okay, so put it in there.
So
Okay.
put it in there. So I did out the math, so that if you take the 8,000 and divide it by 52, it's $153.85 per week. So if you take that and add that to his existing salary, as of January 1, his salary would go to $14,0250 for 13 weeks. And then I added $40.
The 2 point.
And that's
100%.
14, so that would go to 1442.50 as of April 1, which would bring the total wages to 74,490. And then we kept the wages the same for, we're planning for 2150 and 1750 for 2 new hires, depending on where that goes. So then the New Hampshire retirement and FICA would change to reflect the increase in the wages. And then some minor decreases based off of actual. So I manually updated this actual column for the highway. And so we talked about decreasing electric down to 3,000, decreasing heating and oil down to 6, decreasing proposed vehicle repairs to 40, and then decreasing supplies and parts down to 5 based on actual. So the ones that are sort of grayed out and highlighted boxes, those are numbers that
Came down.
came down. Everything else is the same as what we saw last week. In addition, I did a spreadsheet for payroll savings due to approved leave and resignations. So we have Dwayne's, we have 2 positions, and I figured in their budget versus actual, including wages,
Total
taxes, New
compensation,
Hampshire
right.
retirement, and all of their benefits, and then what we actually paid, and so that produced a savings of $58,202.43. The only expenditures that were made over and above outside of the budgeted was the boom mower, and that was 22,000. So 15 of it came out of capital reserve fund, and 7 was paid out of the highway budget. So it's only that 7,000 expenditure.
So what is the bottom line that you're proposing?
So the bottom line that
Well,
Wayne is
there's two,
proposing
right?
is 430.
431,758 less the insurance because we're moving that over, so it's gonna be 375,929. Did I look at
So
that?
576,314
If we do all both together, right?
together, yeah.
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve that number.
I just have one question. What was the snow and ice, what was the 3,000 increase in equipment?
Here. Let's see what we wanna buy.
From 7 to 10.
I put that up because of the snowplow blades and stuff like that. Sand, if something goes wrong with the sanders or the
Blades.
you know, the plow blades and the wing blades.
Would just like to
Because
see.
we're adding another truck, so I figured I better put that up. I know it's
New truck or something.
Unless you hit something.
I hope, I mean,
Well, I hope not.
isn't that one of the things?
we got look at the total, but everything is
I'm a little shy about paying somebody $17 when we're dropping $180,000.
Anybody want a copy of that?
I'm okay with the top budget. I was.
What is that?
Are you okay with the 3,000 that you just explained?
What the total compensation was for the other two.
No.
No.
We're at 5 this year and we have a month left, so
You think that's too much?
But we've only had 2 snows, right?
no, it's January, February, March.
Okay.
Did it snow then?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. Not in Florida.
I mean,
Do you want to go back to 7? We're talking, I mean, I agree, Bob's probably right, we probably won't need much with the new truck, but you don't know. So you want to go back to 7?
That's equipment, that takes care of like the sanders and, you know, anything goes wrong with the sanders in the truck,
Yeah.
anything goes wrong with the plows, anything goes with the plow blades, that's what that takes care of.
Randy, I didn't manually update the winter budget with the expenditure, so that line is at 78782 for actuals for today. That's the line.
Yeah.
is that the money we use to pay Olson though?
We haven't paid that invoice yet.
No, the money you're gonna use to pay, you're gonna,
We're gonna pay the money. Yeah.
it's out of, no, I have a line item for that. I don't think that's right, so.
Still at 13.
I didn't see the budget.
Pay
the equipment rental. That's gonna, I have $1 in there for equipment rental, so they're gonna put that on there and it's gonna come out of the bottom line.
Okay. So my motion stands?
What's the total number you think? It's 375, 929.
We should do each one separately.
Yeah.
because it,
So I'm gonna make a motion for the highway for the 375, 929.
What happened to my
My thing is over
motion?
here.
Well, because we have to do them separately. You made a motion for the whole, for
Okay.
two together.
So Ken made the motion?
No.
I made the motion, Phil seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? All right, I'm gonna make a motion for the snow and ice for 144,556.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? So you're good. 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 Is this yours?
Which is 524.
Can you give me a copy of that? I don't know.
Oh, I put my email up.
Oh, you just sell it?
Yeah.
Oh, do you have that? Hang on, wait. And I think that was your notes. Anything else, Wayne?
No.
You're good to go, sir. Thank you very much.
Where do we stand with
So gonna get
personnel?
That's an L0.
So,
Myself, Bill, and we got the two guys that, both these process and getting it solved.
Let me try to get up.
Do we have any more
one
applications?
more in here to the library.
I'll be right there.
So,
So we'll have to coordinate. We'll do that this week.
Is that,
And I'll give it to them.
Don't get old.
I agree with you.
two guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
was this meeting over?
No.
No, let's just stay with.
Thank you. Here's, that's me.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you.
no, nice to meet you too.
Good luck.
And I want to thank you for taking me out.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That was so nice of you.
Okay.
Live my way out of here.
Okay,
I'll see you soon.
let's do,
No, let's stay
I
with.
can't imagine.
No, so I gotta go to
Oh, that's. We need to talk about it, starting, we need to talk about something to find highway.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
we have one application now, that's it, right?
So we have,
Did
did Pelletier start?
he did it, the last one, right?
Was that?
He drove through the last one.
Oh, yes, he did.
Okay.
So he's all set. We've got him.
on board seasonal, right?
Right.
Is it,
See our purple
let me
now?
ask the obvious
No.
question, is it wages?
So what was, yeah, so Scott Pelletier is our part-time seasonal, is it full-time? Part-time seasonal, what's his rate? At 19 an hour? And we have two full-time positions open.
Yes.
Yeah, and
But-
I think the wage, that we are offering is probably low. I think we probably need to go up. If I can go to Walmart and make $18 an hour, why do I want to not?
Can you go there and make it, David?
Yes. Yes.
Are you still choose what you chose?
Nobody wants to do it.
I don't want to work as a.
Maybe at the warehouse, you're not making $18.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
At the warehouse.
Right,
They're advertising right now at 17.
at the warehouse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all these benefits.
But you're working at the warehouse.
Yeah,
yeah.
12-hour shifts.
Most everybody comes in that I talk to, that actually lives around here, they ask me how much we're getting, that's $17.50 now. They said, well, when you get up over, one told me when you get up over 25, give me a call, and the other one told me if I get up over 20, you give them a call.
Well, we do, I mean,
So I know we gotta go
no
up.
experience or experience?
What's that?
Experience, no experience, CDL, what do they have?
One of them did, one of them did, and the other one, he's plowed with a small truck, not with a big truck.
So he doesn't have a CDL?
See, I don't think he has a
And what's he want?
20.
No,
See, I think you should go to 23 myself.
Well, we had what, what's our range, 1750 to 22 is all right.
Epping was advertising 25. I don't know how they made
This
out,
was-
if they got any drivers.
It was almost
Neil
19.
and works with Exeter, he gets
That's why Jeremy
23.
wrote that.
Really? Well, if we go, yeah. It's not at 23. It's not at 23, I think you might be in the
I
ballpark.
talked to them.
I'm certainly not here on behalf of Wayne or the
Yeah,
highway
I
department.
just need to have you do your name and address, I'm sorry.
Todd Bradshaw, 264 Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Wayne's in quite a predicament, and just to give you some information to base decisions on, I'm acquainted with the road agent in East Kingston, and I know a few other people in the Exeter department as well. And one of the factors that makes a person want to go into this field, if you will, is it's an opportunity to get a good wage because they're required by the federal government and the state to have licensing, medical cards, and there are certain requirements that are out there that they need to fulfill in order to get a job. Therefore, it increases their worth, if you will. And I know in the conversations I've had with local people, most guys and women that will apply are looking between $20 and $25 an hour. And unfortunately, as far as the municipality is concerned, the private sector is paying, willing to pay, I should say, that type of money because the economy is where it's at. That being said, to catch up with it, you know, the municipalities have to be willing to kind of go that route. I know it's not an easy decision, but, you know, the people are out there, and if they can take a private sector job at $23 an hour with their benefit package, it's a no-brainer to take. And
Well, the other thing I know is like, we offer, like, if it's a single person for insurance, it's 100% paid. So the benefit package is pretty extensive.
But kids these days could care less if they have 100% paid insurance.
They're looking for that.
everyone that I've spoken to in and around the trade, if you will, trying to find qualified help is difficult. And that is a problem that all of us everywhere are going to face in the next 5, 10 years. There's just not going to be anybody qualified to do the work that needs to get done. And it's going to become a greater issue than it is today. If the opportunity is there to secure some sound health, it's, I think in the long term, it's a benefit to the town to do so. It's easy to sit here and speculate, but just based on conversations I've had that are worthwhile conversations, that's kind of where it stands.
I agree with what you're saying. I've had a couple of those same conversations with people outside of the town that think that we need to go up in wages.
I'm surprised the state, and we haven't had more people from the state come over since they're paying, what was it, $14 an hour?
Yeah, we're not gonna get
I
it.
was like
They
shocked.
have good benefits.
We do too.
So do we, they have good benefits too.
People I've talked with who drive and have CDLs are telling me, you need to be up in the mid-20s. So
So do you want to set the range, 20 and 23?
I think at least that.
That would be a good start.
25. I think
We need to look at it by candidate, but the other problem is we just hired 3 per diem firefighters at like $18 an hour, so now our truck drivers making more than our firefighters, paramedics. I mean, Joe, what did we just hire those 2 per diems at?
You're actually a little less than that. You're actually at 17 for the per diem. I've got the other full-time guy at almost 20.
So, I mean, our whole pay scale is upside down.
Well, sometimes you have to provide incentives if you want to attract somebody to do the job.
Well, no, I understand that, but
And I understand what
It's
you're
a
saying.
balance.
you know, now we pay a truck driver $22 an hour. What is a full-time firefighter making 19?
Yeah.
Has education, you know,
I'm
he's
sure.
gotta go to fire
Very
school, he's gotta go to
expensive.
EMT school, he's gotta, and he also has a CDL. I mean, we have to start bumping all of our pay up if we're gonna keep our people, or else we're gonna be constantly in hiring. I'm not saying we shouldn't pay 20 to 25, I'm just saying, when the chief comes up here next, we also have to look at his, and budget committee needs to see what's going on and see that, you know, we're not just willy-nilly throwing money at people, we need to keep town employees.
What did it cost us for the storm to hire outside?
About $1 million, it was $115 an hour, and Skip plowed for 20 hours, you plowed for 70.
No, what did it cost us to hire a contractor now? Wasn't it what we?
115 an hour
Thought it was
Yeah.
per truck, per
$150
trucker.
$5,600
$60
and something dollars each. That's the bill down the shed today.
5,000.
5,000, he had 2 trucks, 2 drivers,
So you're talking about $12,000.
5,000.
5,000.
Oh, for both?
For both.
5,000.
That was for one, that was for
Yeah, I
Monday,
understand.
right?
That was the one storm.
One storm. On Tuesday, it was just you and Skip, correct?
No,
We
they
had
had both storms, that was
Okay,
both
so
storms.
both, okay. So that was one
They
storm.
They came in, it was 12 hours the first
Yeah,
storm, I think, and
that's
the
right.
second one was 12 hours.
So for one storm, we paid
$2,500.
$5,000, well, for the outside drivers because we don't have in-house help.
For
Yeah.
$2,500 a day.
They were driving 1 tons, and now Wayne had to go back and wing everything back because all the roads were narrow.
Yeah.
We had 2 sand trucks, 2 trucks out there with plows and wings, myself and Skip. We kept the roads wide enough, we did our own route, and those guys, what route, it took us some time. It takes, to do one route takes 3 hours. When you get a bad storm like that, it takes 3 hours per truck to do a storm. Okay, takes a set, those guys stayed in between to keep the roads open.
Sure.
That's what they did, and we kept going, we kept doing, Skip did 1 route, 2 routes, I did 2 routes, but those guys stayed in between to keep them open, so people wouldn't get stuck in the road.
So what we don't want to do is be in a position where we have to go outside and hire, because I know this was a freak storm, 2 days, we got a lot of snow, but I think what we need to do is look at what we're offering and up it, because we don't want to have to go outside, because ultimately we'll run out of money, and it'll happen pretty quick.
Can we do 20 to 25 with experience? Depends on experience.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to offer somebody the higher end, but we need to have a range there where we need to be attracting qualified drivers in the highway department.
You can't, and so I guess my question is, once you guys decide on a wage, then we have to take a look
Revisit
back
the
at
highway
his
and
budget, because now
increase
he's
the
under
budget.
budgeted for his wages.
Correct.
If you're going up $5 an hour for
Yeah,
a year.
it adds up.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need to.
I'm more inclined to probably do, I'm more inclined to do probably, what we're at 1750? Probably 1850 to 20, what's our high, 22 to 23?
Well, it hasn't worked so far. All the interviews we've had, not that we know why they left, but they didn't
We're not really
hire.
getting a lot of applications.
No, I know, but the ones that we have interviewed, we didn't hire.
I think we're a victim of a good economy, and we need to recognize that. And I think we can't depend on the current situation going forward. It's not gonna get better in terms of weather, it's gonna.
And can't, even if we up it, can't we wait until the public hearing and change the figure then, if we have to? Because you don't know, you don't want to change it now if you don't hire
Well, the problem
somebody.
is we need to hire somebody too, we can't wait.
Yeah, we gotta hire some couple.
Right, I mean, we have to hire somebody.
We can't wait till March and then be like, woo, we shelled out $5,000 a storm. We have,
Well, I'm saying if you
20,
hire somebody,
you know, 15
can you
storms.
increase the budget at either town meeting or?
That's a gamble.
No, we don't wanna do that, we wanna do that now.
That's a huge
We
gamble.
don't know that we have the money set aside to
Oh,
cover the wages of the people we hire.
I wouldn't be
Ms.
comfortable
Rhea
with
has a
that.
question.
No, that's-
Just a comment, you know I'm on the committee and I'm pretty tight. I don't know how many.
That's an understatement.
I don't know how many months this has been going on, but this is definitely too low, the 1750. I think, and I thought I heard you say there's something about 19, that you just hired somebody part-time or per diem. but my suggestion would be 19 to 23 or 19 to 24. And the 17, 18 I would totally get rid of, and no disrespect to the, to Chief Bird and the fire department, but this is kind of a critical, you've tried and it's not working.
I can come back with you and tell you that the fire department's just as critical. And
Right,
we're not-
right.
And we're not covering calls at this point.
No, right.
Because I don't have the people to cover it.
Right, no,
So
I'm,
it's not just a one-sided issue on the highway department, it's a
Right.
thing that's completely through the whole town.
right. So, but it's, you know, snowing now, and we just basically have Wayne and one other helper, you know, we
I think the
absolutely.
19 to 23 would be me.
I would go 19, I wouldn't even go any lower than 19, and I wouldn't go, I don't know if I'd go all the way up to 25, but 19 to 23, 19 to 24 would be my suggestion.
We have to pay something.
19 to 24 range, I can live with that.
I'm thinking 19 to 23, because I still know that once we hire them, we're still gonna give them a bump after 6 months. So even if I hire somebody at 19, I'm gonna be bumping them to 1950. Even if I hire them at 1850, I can bump them to 19.
Are we expressing that when we talk to people about potentially coming on board that in 6 months based on performance?
We do have a conversation with them when we're talking to them, and making them the offer, that they understand what the parameters are and what benefits we have, stuff like that. I know in the interviews I've sat through, we've explained it. But I can tell you some of the people we interviewed are, as I'll nicely explain it, dreamers. How much, what's your salary expectation? It's 50,000.
There
Why?
has to be a balance
You have no
between,
experience.
you know, something we can afford and experience and realistic expectations, but I'm concerned that we're putting people in a vehicle that's worth a lot of money, and I want to make sure they're qualified to drive that. And I'm sure when you go through the interview process, you're making sure that happens, but I don't want to put something at 100.
The other thing you might happen is, if you go up on your price, you've got guys out there that don't want the full-time position. They might just come in here and plow.
That's all
If
right.
you get,
I mean, that,
So a seasonal person, you mean?
see, here,
a season, not a season, I've had 2 or 3 that they don't want the regular job, they already have a
They
regular
want
job.
to come in here seasonally, I'm willing to,
That's
maybe
fine.
That's the
we
conversation.
post for seasonal?
Yeah,
You guys up the
I'm
wages
okay
for
with that,
seasonal
I'm okay with
employees.
that right now, because that's right now a critical need that we have to have people here who can clear the roads for storms. But the long term we have to look long term as well.
Well,
because-
like Karen just said, maybe we increase for the seasonal driver,
Because we're not paying benefits.
because we're not paying benefits, but then we leave these postings for the laborers, and we try to fill those positions with general laborers, that's what we're looking for.
So then you leave your laborers at, $19, $20 an hour with a bump after 6 months, and then leave your seasonal, and maybe you up that
Up
to
that,
25 or
up that.
27.
Yeah, I think we need to do that.
I think I go along with Karen.
I think
And
that's
then
good.
you're not having your benefits package, and maybe this budget still works. We have to sit down and make sure that the numbers work.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of time to do that. I think we need to do that, because that's a critical need.
So I'll say,
Because every year we look for seasonals anyways, because we have more trucks than we do employees. So,
the contractor will probably cost us a little bit of money.
It will.
Plus, we just paid, what, 89,000, that's right?
Andy, what are your thoughts on what Karen
check.
just said?
A new truck?
Yeah,
It's 165.
165,000?
Did you buy a fire truck?
Hey, it's got a working transmission, that's all I gotta say.
And a
And no
windshield
dents.
that works.
And no dents, nobody's hit it with a plow truck.
Right, so where are we?
They don't give them away, Joe.
I would make a motion to do 19 to 22
For seasonal.
for, no, for our laborers. And a seasonal, I would say
Bump it up to.
24,
Yeah. Yep. I would second that.
up to 24.
I would go higher than that.
I would go higher probably.
With a seasonal CDL,
Yep,
So what do you think, 25?
yep.
25, 26, I mean,
25.
well, no, we
No.
cap it. I mean, depending on
24,
experience.
20 experience. So maybe 23 to 25, or 22 to 25?
24 to 27.
Because you said it's going from what, 20 to 25?
20 to 25.
So why don't we set it 20 to 25, that gives us a range. Kind of what they have for experience.
And maybe if you throw them an extra buck and 20, that'll be the.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So we're gonna put that out there right away.
Do you update that on your job postings?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that, Karen. What was the extra buck for? What did you just say about an extra buck?
Yes, we need it.
The seasonal range to 24 to 26, right?
Yep.
Well, I
Well,
would say
you've got-
20.
20 to 25 is what I would put, right?
Because right now you're only up to 23, right? You don't need to come from 23,
Let's go
yeah.
20 to 25.
Go with the experience.
And then if you have somebody who's experienced, then fine. If they have no experience, then we have to worry about
Go with
that.
the
Well, if they have no experience, I mean, they're not gonna have the CDL.
Which we've run into.
There's an experience factor that is hard to come by. And one of the greatest factors affecting everyone, private and municipal, is younger folks aren't interested in these jobs regardless of what they pay. They just don't want to do them. So if you can find a guy that can run a loader as well as the backhoe, as well as connect the plow to the truck, you'd want to sit down and really negotiate, because that's a commodity that's hard to find. And if you get your opportunity, I know the town of Epic, they're in the race right now, they need help desperately. And they're trying to figure this out just like we are tonight.
Did we ever reach out to Tellecchio?
Did you call Ralph?
Go who?
Ralph at the heavy equipment school?
No, I didn't. Most of those guys down there, somebody was telling me, but most of those guys down there that go there, they already have a job. They're in Mass. Biggest part of them, that all come from Mass down there.
The
And
state of
they're,
Massachusetts requires hoisting and hydraulics licenses before you can operate equipment in the state of Mass, under any category.
But we've been hurting for help for 2 months, and the suggestion was made 2 months ago to call Tellecchio. And even if they're only up here for the winter in school and can plow for 10 hours when they're not in school that day.
I think
Those positions at that school are equipment related, specifically equipment related, and not driver related. Those guys are there for equipment.
Doesn't mean they don't know how to drive though.
It doesn't mean they don't know how to drive, but if they're in school, most of them have to be either at a job like Lane says, or they're at school.
I know that you used to order tuition to help find people jobs, so I would assume some of them don't
They
have
try
to.
to do job
Well, yeah, we should
placement.
check it out. As Andy says,
For
check it
a
out,
30-second
yeah.
phone call.
Yeah.
Even if he says
I'll go
no.
down and see him.
Yeah, if you can get that, that would be awesome.
I can go down and see him.
All right, and then try to set up that other interview. Just let us know when it's going to be.
Okay, so you want to restate your motion so we can vote?
Yeah.
What do we have?
The laborers 19 to 22.
19 to 22 for laborers, we have 2 of those. And then the seasonal wages, we're gonna go 20 to 25.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
Now you can close your,
You and I will sit down and make sure.
ask if anybody has any more comments or questions.
Any more questions for Comcast before I close that hearing? Make a motion to close Comcast hearing?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Wayne, you're no longer on the hot seat.
Oh, yeah, you still have to go to budget committee.
You better not jump on it. This,
No,
all
I heard it's going down. I'm good with stuff that goes down.
right.
Is this board interested in hiring a firm to do a wage and compensation study?
No.
Oh, I think it's time to have that done.
I don't think we have to
No.
hire a firm, I think we should let,
NHMA doesn't offer that service any longer.
oh,
So
Oh, it
short,
doesn't?
no, because they have too low participation. So short of calling every single town and comparing job descriptions and wages, I mean, a company would do all of that and compare what the responsibilities are, apples to apples, to see where, I don't know, I mean,
I mean, I guess give them a call, find out what the rates are first.
but maybe you could see if the board was open to it, then perhaps you can find money to encumber this year and then do it in the spring and summer of next year so that it's ready to go for next budget season, so that we're not continually in this battle.
would Gloria and Joyce be interested in extra hours that we could
Yes.
pay? Instead of hiring a firm,
But then where Joyce is already full-time and Gloria's right on the cusp of becoming full-time, if they're doing,
Instead of hiring a firm, which would probably be cheaper for us to pay overtime, hiring out. Plus, it's a bonus to the employee that they can earn some extra money.
Yeah, because you're not gonna be doing 17 hours worth of stuff, you're only gonna be doing a couple hours of phone calls.
Well, no, it would probably take,
No, it's
it'll
gonna
be,
be more than just that.
But not like all of them at one time.
no,
It's gonna be a couple here, a couple there,
Yeah.
yeah. It's gonna be a progression.
Why don't you ask them if they're interested in pursuing that, and then we can
work on that.
go forward with that. I mean, not only they have to make the phone calls, they have to compile the information that they have to.
Gloria's fantastic with spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets work for me.
right,
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Wayne.
Good night,
I'm
sir.
gonna bring up, you guys want the fire?
the library's actually, fire was first, so you're going backwards, so whatever you wanna do.
Chief, come on up.
Could you pass this on to the chief?
Sorry, I thought this was the wrong. Okay, pretty nice.
Can I get you to do me a favor? What's that?
Can I get you to do me a favor?
What's that?
You write it?
Sure.
Because it's not technically yours, I thought. I'm going to try that fellow on video.
It's the Firemen's Association, right?
But he said, let me know.
Okay.
A lot of people are doing that.
We discovered what that, that was Fireman's Association. And if you want to put toy driving down,
We want it today.
it just makes life a lot simpler for us.
I'll do that.
Thank you. I don't have that fancy yellow one either.
We're at an hour already.
Where?
Oh, copies for everybody, absolutely.
You want me to make copies or no? Or does he have them?
No, I got copies, hang on. We doing the fire, or are we doing both, or are we doing,
Well, we're gonna do both.
What's the quickest one?
let's do EMS first, which one's dropped.
Well, the ESM makes money, so that's easy.
That's kind of where I want to go.
In and out. It's a great purpose, guys. In and out purpose.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Randy, have you seen the new advertisement for the new coffee shop?
If not,
I haven't either. Is it good?
It's open, they're open.
Yeah, lay 'em around.
It's photographs on Facebook.
Yeah. What's that called? Bird?
I like that.
Huh?
I like
I like coffee. I'll tell you how good it is.
Just do coffee, or they have.
Well, they make sandwiches and I think.
Oh, this is simple. Level funded, I make a motion for $110,737.
Karen, did you get one?
that. Yes, thank you.
Thought I could.
Joe can't count.
Did you keep one for
Okay, so I
yourself?
make your
I've got
motion.
mine written
Make your
out.
motion,
I made a motion for level funded, $110,735.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Read it again? Library, your site, that was easy, huh?
I'll stand by, the fun starts now.
Oh, God. Should I get my temper going, or what do you want me to do?
No,
Get it later.
no, you've been
Have a
good.
cup of coffee?
You've been good.
I just gotta make sure I read this one. I haven't put it in. You can put it in the room.
No, the one thing I was looking for is.
Sometimes I forget, sometimes
You wanna,
sometimes I put it in, sometimes I do.
I got my
For doors closed, I don't
I'm sure allowed.
Under the doors, sir.
Yeah, but Keith does the same thing. So then she had mine and his, so.
Tell me I did it right.
All right.
Hang on a minute. I gotta clear it through the, how does it do? You all set?
Does everybody have a copy, because I got an extra?
Yeah, give me an extra.
I made an extra one, I got the one, I got my cheat sheet.
I gave you one.
That's the seal.
Oh,
You give it to the person next door.
They've increased that test. Made it so. And so that goes to.
Okay.
oh. Next year.
Okay.
This year requested is about an $80,000 increase.
And that's for?
And that $80,000 increase, we will be putting on another full-time firefighter. And going to 7 days a week, 12-hour coverage. Start at 6 in the morning, and then it's 6 in the evening. And go back to the call schedule after 6.
Did you reduce the per diem amount?
I've reduced the per diem amounts that's already included in here, part of that.
What line item is that on?
It doesn't specifically, it would be spread over a couple of different ones. Hang on a minute.
Some of your per diem was actually out of the ambulance. too.
Right, some of it's out of the ambulance, some of it's
Out of salaries.
out of salaries. I don't have a specific line, they sit in the salary line themselves.
Okay.
It's not a separate item in the line.
I have a question, Joe, about the administration,
Yeah.
the increase.
The increase would take my salary and put it back in as the
And yes,
administrator.
okay.
So you're gonna be a full-time fire chief now?
It would be a full-time fire chief.
So
which
you're
I
not
told
gonna
you.
do the 2020?
I will do as much as I can. It will actually give you, in essence, Monday through Friday, 4 of us in the station. So if I had the back-to-back calls and I needed the second ambulance, I would pull somebody from the first ambulance.
Because right now you have.
Four you mean by yourself and.
There are myself and 3 others. The full-time, the per diem, and then, no, actually 3 of us, we would split it up. I'm running 3 now. I'm running myself as a full-time. It would give me a 4th one. It would give me an extra, actually, no, it wouldn't, because I'm on 12-hour shifts. So it would be the same way it is now. The difference is that you're covering the weekends. I've missed 66 calls so far this year. 29 of them have been on the weekends.
This is,
Back,
Yeah.
come around to July and August,
this is,
everybody wants to go enjoy their vacations.
Because they take the insurance out.
yes.
So I'm taking and putting I would put one full-time person on the 1 per diem to cover the weekends. That's 6 to 6. Right now, I'm back to, knock on wood, covering a 10-hour shift on the weekends, which runs 8 to 6. But I've got the people to do that. But the minute the warm weather gets here.
You took a major hit on retirement.
Well, that's because you're adding the full-time.
You're adding,
Oh, yeah.
you're adding another one.
How much?
31%. Yeah, they pay, the percentages are wacky, because it depends if it's the PD, if it's the fire. Yeah.
So basically,
Fire's 30, 31.
there's been roughly 666 calls between now and December 1st. Total of calls we've been able to cover have been 600 of them. Total calls that come in between the hours of 6 o'clock at night and 6 a.m. in the morning are about 194. That leaves the other 406 that basically we're covering between the 6 to 6 shift. Missed calls, 29 of them were on the weekends. 5 of them were before that 7 o'clock that I start. And that doesn't take into consideration that I may not have had a partner, but I can at least start the mutual aid. So there's 5 there. And then from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I've got another 9. So actually, you'd be picking up about 43 of the calls that we've missed. We've got 9 that are back-to-back calls that I don't really expect to cover, although we might be able to do something if somebody like Alyssa's in doing her administrative work. Alyssa has been a big help as far as doing that. She'll come in and do her administrative, and then I pay her if she goes and does the calls. So
Okay.
it's coming out of my budget when she does the calls. It's nice to have the paramedic around.
Oh, sure.
Something that
How much did you reduce the per diem budget by?
I don't have that number right in front
Because
of
if
me.
your whole budget's up 80,000, I'm just wondering what the total.
Well, most of
cost
that,
is.
if you take and really consider it, you would be, a full-time guy would cost me 85 if I put the whole thing in.
And that includes benefits? and
That
everything else?
includes the benefits, so the benefit,
So you dropped it by 5,000, roughly?
roughly.
How much is your per diem budget right now?
Well, I don't, like I said, I don't have that line exactly in front of me. I'm being honest with you, because it's spread out over a couple of different things.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed thing, it's spread over a couple of different things because of the way we do call coverage is right. So it's kind of a floating number.
Yeah.
So you figure out a way to rob Peter to pay Paul a little bit to make it work.
Now, Joe, did you consider making the additional firefighter a warrant article, or?
I was looking maybe to even come back for something else, I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with the warrant article. I think right now, this is probably the best way to go for the coverage for the town, and I figured this would be an easier pill to swallow than coming back for
A warrant
a
article.
warrant article for a couple of people. I can reduce that number that's sitting there right now, because that person was figured literally from the first of the year. So I can cut that number by about 21,000. I just wanted to give you an idea what it was gonna cost with that extra guy for the full year. So I can take about another 21 out of there for that.
And then next year, there would be in the budget.
But you'd have to put it back in next year.
Next year.
It would definitely be in the budget next year. And then if I'm not mistaken, that's.
So the 561, we've been dropping that down to
540.
540.
I've got it figured out here, hang on a minute.
It would affect all of them, I guess.
Oh, right.
Right, because salary and retirement and.
Well, I got a rough idea what that would take it to. We'd take it to about, well, let me take the 4620 out, that's I'm on, that would have been under the phones. Because you told me I could subtract that. So when you take that out, it takes it down to 75, which makes the number 557,220. And then if I take the 21,000 out, it takes it down to 535,860 and change.
The Armon is,
The
still have
Armon
to
was
account for
the-
that, but that's just gonna be,
Right.
we're gonna be moving that over in the budget, but I know in the budget committee, they're still gonna be looking for that, to see, just kinda like we did the insurance.
Yeah, I want to see.
Still have to capture it to know that.
All right,
we're
well, I'll
still
put it
gonna
back in for them, but
Yeah.
to give you a straight cut, you can take 21,359 out 58 cents. If you want to put that back in.
Well, we would, when we approve the budget, we're gonna be approving without it, but.
Right, no, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
And what did you calculate for raise for you and your staff?
I've actually got $1 an hour raise in this for everybody too.
Everybody?
Everybody in here's got $1 an hour raise.
Call guys too?
Huh?
You call guys too?
Call guys too. They deserve one.
So let me ask you a really stupid question, because we're missing calls.
Yes.
And when you miss a call, mutual aid takes over.
Right.
What's your sense, just your sense of that? How's, I'm kind of guessing that they're probably not real happy with having to fill in.
I will tell you that I
They're making
bill.
money.
I know that,
They
but
built
I'm just
the
saying.
$35.
Right, out of those 29, you're actually losing money out of your ambulance service too.
Because it was
We're running about
$835
$800 a bill on an ambulance call, average, and that's money out of your revenue too. It's not being
Not from out of town.
No, we don't chase them. If their insurance pays it, they pay it.
especially in town, right?
So,
But hopefully with this new billing company,
but it would be to our benefit to
Go to calls.
be able to go to those calls, right?
Absolutely. Well, you take the money figure out of it.
I'm just talking about,
Yeah, but I'm
there's
just
a
saying.
sense, you know, I'm sure
Take
mutual
the
aid,
money-
they probably sit there and go, oh, God. it's
Take the
probably-
money figure out of it. I do a tone. And you'll vouch for this, it's probably 9 times out of 10 a retone. So there's the 4 or 5 minutes up originally, depending on how fast the dispatcher wants to push the button, there's another 4 or 5 minutes. If it's a mutual aid town at 6 o'clock at night, he's doing the same thing from him if he hasn't pushed the button after the 4 or 5. They don't get somebody else. There's another 4 or 5. There's 20 minutes before you even see an ambulance or get an ambulance out the door. Then depending on which town they're coming from, will determine how quick they get here. We've had a good working relationship with Epping. Epping had a problem that they went through, they've corrected some of it. But we rely on each other heavy back and forth, and definitely in that direction.
Yeah, they corrected it by hiring our people.
Well, I won't go there, I didn't push that button, but that was the direction that we kind of went with that. Are they unhappy with it? No. Don will tell you he'll do it till the cows come home, because it was a deal that we had gone the other way with, and they had been the same thing. He walked back into his 2 years ago or 3 years ago and said, hey, Brentwood's camped out here at 6 o'clock at night, because they were putting the call people on. So after 6 o'clock at night, he has gone to a full-time staff with one full-time firefighter, and he's trying to fill the other half with call people. So that's the direction they've got. They run about 1,300 calls versus my 7. So at the same time, it's not, you know, I'm not pushing that issue right at the moment. But there again, if you're the one laying there, we had a save 2 weeks ago on a weekend. If we had not had the crew sitting in the station, that person wouldn't have made it. You would have waited on that mutual aid ambulance, and they wouldn't have made it.
Well, they would have made it, they would just been too late.
What was that?
They would have just been too late.
But I'm just
All right,
saying.
so basically it's an increase of $53,845. So we've taken those reductions out, it would be $535,860.
Actually, we need to look.
And then the other line would be $442,737. So do I have a motion for the $442,737? She gave me the number.
You made it look all good with your phone in your hand, like, oh, I came up with this now.
No, I was figuring out what the $825
All the
was.
stuff taken out.
Actually, for this number, and then
She had to take all these out.
Right, because that was the number.
So actually, it's
Isn't it?
It's,
40,000 less than last year.
well, no, because we're moving the insurance over
Oh,
to,
got it, got it.
so that's why you have to kind of know the 535,860. Now, is this taking out the R-bond too? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so it would be the 442,737 would be the bottom line.
You made that one?
I made the minimum
Do
step.
we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against?
Aye.
There you go. Is that it, Chief? Run, man, run.
I'll see you tomorrow, Chief.
Library, come on up.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome to stop by anytime. Any of you are. Two seconds, I just want to double check one thing.
Bill? Huh?
You're fucking cracking, you know
Yeah,
it.
no, I'll give you that. We're taking a 35-minute recess.
You have a practice? I will vacate this chair, I know.
You guys wanna sit in the middle like that?
So I can't go potty real quick, so we got 5 minutes. She asked me to pause.
So, East Kingston did one of those salary surveys about 8 years ago, and it cost about $8,000. And it was not any information that you couldn't have mined online. You can't do that anymore because the municipal association doesn't keep
Right.
those numbers anymore.
But it is all public information, so.
It is, but
Like all our-
it takes a lot of hours to track it down, and you need the expertise to
Understand
to understand it.
Because we have total compensation we put out for all our employees.
Do I have to share these?
Most municipalities shouldn't go to that. Probably not. We're just gonna post it now, if we call, look up, and if they want to get on the internet.
The other thing is that, you know, I hear salary stuff all the time, and I think that in order to have equity over the whole town, you should have two different salaries on the committee
Right.
that keeps up with that all the time. We used to have, you know, you worked for the town of Brentwood for so long, you moved up the ladder.
Right.
You had merit increases, you moved up the ladder.
You need to make what I should.
Nope, one's coming.
Yeah, but what's you have?
I got this big one.
So you should have one,
Two, right?
you should have two different copies.
281,
I have one copy.
Yeah, there's two different,
There's two different ones.
there's two different ones.
So you should have two budgets.
I only have one.
I have one.
They're coming to you.
Here, I got it.
You should have two different dollar ones.
Only one was marked, they weren't.
I'm sorry. Like, so the top copy.
I got
No, they're not.
No, that's
No, the
different.
bottom line is one's with benefits and one
I
without.
gave you one.
I have the same.
Well, then they must have the,
Okay, you owe me one.
175, 712, I have this one.
which one?
281,
Well, you gotta look over.
No, you
No,
look at the
this
bottom
one.
right.
245, 281, okay.
Right, and one's 281, 082.
That was me.
No.
I have
This is
this.
ten.
So confused.
I'm sorry.
Which one do you
Are you
have?
good?
Jim's right on.
I have,
I have one
I have
more
no
time.
idea. I did feel bad for my fellow board members.
Oh, is there enough for everybody to have 20?
Yes. The library just threw us a curveball.
We just didn't write with.
They wanted to fill in the time you were missing,
So they
so.
wanted to make sure you were, keep it on
wait.
your toes.
Be followed.
The alert.
Okay, give us the short and skinny of this whole thing.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for deferring our meeting to today. We appreciate that storm last week.
Well, I know you guys ordered the snowstorm.
Yeah, we did, that's what it was. And we'll open it for questions, but I wonder if you could turn to page 2 on the, let's do it without the benefits.
So
Doesn't
245?
matter, they're the same, the
Yeah,
picture is the
245.
same.
Okay.
All right, so you will notice on the bottom right-hand column, there are two special sort of ones. So the 867.78 on your special retirement provision is for one employee for,
In another department.
in another department. Karen, you can speak to that.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah,
Yeah. All right, and then
that's trash, yeah.
you read my line? The line above it is different from the original budget we submitted, and that's because we then had to add that same person in for the library rate for retirement. So the original budget we submitted was 10,543, and it increased 1,829.64 on that line to add retirement for that employee.
Because now they get retirement over there. and-
Right. Divide that between the three departments. So that's what drove up the 24,172, and that went up 2,697.42 total, including the two retirement figures for the two different departments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the remainder of the budget is what you have had in front of you for, when did you do it, October something?
So your budget's gone up
$20,000.
$20,000.
But
Isn't part of that the, for the, computers? Didn't you tell me the other day that you can't do?
That's on the, yes, on the operating budget piece of it. That increases there for IT support.
yeah, the computers is up almost 10 grand.
Yeah, because they used to get it free, now they have to pay.
Right.
That was a donation originally, right? It was a, yeah. So computers were donated along with IT support for a year. We now have IT support.
Right.
So,
I don't see anything outrageous in there.
what's the total increase in the whole budget percentage-wise?
20,000 on a $200,000 budget.
10%?
Two?
Seven percent?
It's 6%, yeah. 5.9. Yes. With benefits.
Yeah.
Oh.
We don't have to do that again next year, right?
No.
No, because now it's gonna be out, now they'll be able to compare it, or insurance was this,
But
they had to do it this year.
out of that 20 grand,
10,000.
No, 10, 12,
13
almost 13 is
software.
either
IT
computers or New Hampshire retirement.
Yeah, it was well funded without that.
So you're looking at $7,000 increase for salaries and everything else, which on a $200,000 budget is.
Let's go.
So I'm gonna move the 245, 826, 46.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Good deal.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Nice seeing you.
Nice to see you.
Sorry it took an hour and a half to get to you, but we did.
We lost the brownie director a long time ago.
You gotta come to the library, we always have to look there.
All right.
It's a long commute for me.
I know, right?
Hold on.
Oh.
Okay.
So we're done?
Frank McGinnis.
All right, another police officer.
Can I throw him back in your ring?
Yes, I figured it out once they went.
Well, I know the previous one.
Chief one, and
Three out of four.
And Ken got the one.
yes, those.
4 out of 5.
But you had the most full-time employees.
80%.
I think they have 80% of full-time employees. Considering the highway has one.
There you go. So here's a copy, thanks for the good moving. All right, we're gonna go into,
Oh, I have one more budget.
oh, I'm sorry, IT.
And then we should use Josh.
Do you have copies or?
So IT, I just increased the.
Good night, Jim.
Supplies line $350.
Good night.
Good night.
So what's the new budget?
Thank you. The Vimeo subscription is $250, and then for 128 gigabyte thumb drives, I budgeted $100. There's between $15 and $20 each.
So for the IT budget, make a motion for 69,273, or, oh, you haven't added it in there? I thought that was
Oh, what is
350.
that? I'm sorry.
$69,273
From what?
For IT.
for IT.
28,924. I mean 68,924.
Yeah, we already approved the 68
I'm increasing it $350.
Okay.
because we have to get the Vimeo account going.
Now, you made a motion?
I made a motion for 69. All in favor?
To open it first?
No.
No. Oh, we have to reopen.
I make a motion to reopen the IT.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion for the 69,273. All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Probably should get a copy of that.
Yeah, you're gonna need that. All right,
All
well,
right. So we're gonna go into,
Before you want to do that, you want to do Josh?
Josh, you wanna come up and give
Yeah,
us?
sure.
Thanks to everybody for having me here just for a few minutes tonight. I'm going to be really brief because I know you guys want to get out of here and I can do this pretty fast.
Okay.
I've done it so many times. I'm Josh Collins with Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. Just a little bit of background in case you didn't get the overview. We're a small advocacy group. There's only 6 of us that cover the entire country. And we're dedicated to pretty much one mission right now, which is asking the federal government to leave the current truck size and weight regulations and limits where they're at now. I know that sounds kind of, to a lot of people, that sounds sort of like common sense, but what we do is work with local government partners, and that can be elected officials, city managers, a lot of engineers and public works directors, because of the impact that this has on roads and bridges and culverts and all that good stuff. But we also work with law enforcement, fire, first responders, that sort of thing, because of the safety aspect of this as well. You know, I actually, because I knew I wanted to be quick tonight, I actually had separate conversation with Chief Byrd and Mr. Robinson, you know, and kind of attest to some of the safety issues on this. In that folder, you'll see the little page that has the 2 trucks and the 1 truck. And that just explains basically the 2 things that we're trying to reach out about right now. The first one is the federal government is proposing a nationwide maximum weight increase on all commercial trucks from the 80,000 pound mark that it's at now all the way up to 91,000 pounds. So that's the first thing. And you know, for local governments in particular, and even in smaller towns, one of the issues here is this is basically an unfunded mandate, right? You know, the heavier trucks wouldn't be applicable just to interstates, it would be highways. It would be state roads, and quite frankly, because a lot of the trucks are making local deliveries, they would end up on a lot of local roads as well. That is the first proposal. The second one is the double trailer trucks. I'm sure you guys don't see these much because you don't have.
A lot of them out west.
What's that?
A lot of them were out west.
Yeah, and the double trailer trucks are actually, they're allowed on 95 and 93. You might just not see a lot of them. If for whatever reason though, you had one of the double trailer trucks that needed to make a delivery, technically they'd be allowed. Local governments can obviously sign their roads and say no through trucks and stuff like that. One of the problems, and I work in 10 different states, and I hear this everywhere, one of the problems is even when you do signage, they're all following their GPS and they're not even paying attention. So a lot of times that causes problems because, you know, if they can't make a turn, you know, or they're running over the sidewalk or something of that nature, small infrastructure at the local level is affected as well. That's kind of on the infrastructure side of this. The other side of it is safety. And one of the big studies that the U.S. Department of Transportation finished back in 2016 found a lot of different safety concerns. And that's why we work with the Chiefs of Police Association, National Sheriff's Association, and the state troopers, obviously, are the ones that see this the most, who are supportive of our position of basically leaving things where they're at right now. Working with our local government partners and you know, working with law enforcement, basically the one thing we do is just trying to connect local and municipal governments with the congressional delegation and basically just increasing awareness on this because it has come up before. Both of these bills came up in 2015 and they were voted down, which we thought was a good thing. They're coming up again, and you know, we actually don't think that our transportation infrastructure situation is necessarily any better than it was in 2015. In fact, it's harder and harder for them to agree on. Everybody agrees on funding, right? We need more money for roads and bridges, but it's how to get that funding. That's a bit of a challenge. USDOT recommended to Congress after they voted it down to keep everything where it's at right now, and that still holds. Yet and still, the big shippers are pushing for this, so we're talking FedEx, UPS. Amazon's kind of gotten into it a little bit, not with heavier trucks, they went the longer ones, obviously, because their stuff doesn't necessarily weigh a whole lot. So those are the ones that are actually pushing it. An interesting part of our coalition is, a big part of it is actually the trucking organizations as well. A lot of people ask, oh, where do you guys get your funding? And one of the sources is freight rail, which doesn't surprise a whole lot of people. But they are surprised to learn that we get some of our funding from trucking associations as well. And that's because, and there's actually a letter in there from one of our trucking partners, that's because the way they look at this is something that wouldn't necessarily be good for small and medium-sized trucking companies because there are a lot of costs that go into upgrading to air brakes, replacing the trailers is prohibitively expensive. The suspension, tires, all that stuff that kind of has to be modified. They kind of see this as, hey, this is great for FedEx and UPS, but not so great for our companies. And when it comes down to it, I mean, a lot of your conversations tonight have been about budgets. All it takes is one or two super heavy trucks to come through town. You might not see a lot of them because I know you just have a couple state highways that come through the town. But all it takes is a few of them, super heavy trucks, to do some pretty critical damage. It's hard to recoup that unless you have a lot of people out doing enforcement. And most small town police departments don't really have that capability. So that's the background of what we're working on. I mean, again, at the end of the day, all we're asking Congress is just to leave things alone where it's at right now, because we see a lot of damage right now. And one of the things I do is put together draft letters. There's actually a sample from the town of Hanover. They did one recently. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what we do. And we just work to get these in to the congressional delegation to raise awareness. So one of the things I wanted to, I wanted to see if any of you had any additional questions for me, first of all. And then ask if I put together a draft letter, if you guys would give it a look over and consider sending it on to the delegation, which I would provide the information for as well.
Well, I think we need a little time to review it.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe we can discuss this next week.
Yeah, sure. And I can send it, I haven't made the draft letter yet, but I can send it to you. I can turn it around pretty quickly. And if you think of any questions in the meantime, my contact information's in there. You can call me, you can email me, whatever. Yeah, I think
I forwarded on to
first
everyone.
email. Yeah.
So your only concern is the bigger trucks, the heavier weights and the lower trailers.
Right, that's what we're focused on right now. Right.
Good thing is Congress doesn't seem to be doing anything.
Yeah.
Well,
They're gonna be tied up for
yeah,
a month or two.
Congress is that.
Month or two, they've been tied up for the last 4
But
years.
what's your position in terms of trucks that are driverless, for example?
Automated stuff.
So are you also focused, or at least tangentially focused on some of those other things that are coming up? Because I know they're coming.
They're coming up, yeah, they are. And I get that
And in
question.
town, I'll just tell you that we have a couple spots that are, through trucking that we don't see a lot, but we still see the smaller trailers now are going through there. So
Right.
clearly, if there were bigger ones, I'm sure they would follow the same route.
Right.
We had a similar situation when we had roads and issues with accidents.
Yeah,
That
posted.
coming through, yeah, while they were going around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the autonomous stuff, I mean, I get the question about, what's coming down the line with driverless trucks and stuff like that. And we think this is kind of tied together, especially given that there aren't a whole lot of regulations written for autonomous. It's kind of a Wild West right now. The way we look at it is, okay, step by step. The last thing we would want to do is, have even heavier weights, that take longer to stop, have more braking violations and all that stuff, on top of the testing that they're doing, because everything's really in testing phase right now, at least in most states, because every law enforcement officer I talk with usually doesn't like the automated stuff in the first place, but to have even bigger, these double trailers, and luckily you don't have to drive near them a lot, but there are situations out west where they have triples, they allow triples, and when these things come unhitched, they become basically projectiles, right? And that's why they have a lot of nasty accidents further out west as well.
Illinois and Indiana, 2 years ago, they had 200 in less than an hour. Reported, freebies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to see the doubles a lot in the West. I didn't see it too much here.
Yeah.
You see it a lot out
Well, we
West.
get the nice windy roads.
Well,
Doesn't really work too well.
and
You
because
start
there's
rocking
such
the
long
boat.
distances, they want to truck more material.
Yes.
So it's cheaper for them.
Well, they're more gridded out there than we are here, so.
Right.
We're not really gridded.
Yeah,
Kind of.
well, I get it.
Every time I drive around, it just, wasn't for GPS, I didn't know who I get there. Think we're right now. Good deal, any other questions for me, Ray?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate
should I
it.
just email that draft to you?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
thank you so much for having me on, I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
waiting.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah, no, of course, this was really interesting, and hopefully Comcast can give you more than
$2.
I'll have fun talking to them. I've actually been wanting to talk to them for 6 years,
I don't
so.
think they're gonna go out of business.
No, I think they're good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to go into non-public in accordance with chapter 91A:311, A, B, C, D, E, and I for reputation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make sure your microphone's finished.
Shutting your mic off. You talk so loud anyway.
Wow.
Can I just have you wait outside, talk for a second?
Sure.
And then we'll call you back in as soon as we.
Bye, honey.
I'm staying. Oh.
Who did that?
microphone out, I know we can hear you when you're.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I gotta wait for Andy to come back.
Okay. What's left?
Yeah, we have to, because I never give him time to sit down, so.
And we also have to, do we have to reopen the? No.
No, we already did it.
Okay.
All right, so trash.
Karen has got a presentation I think we should listen to.
Okay.
So I did a spreadsheet that's
Which I like.
in your agenda packet.
Thank you.
So I broke down the 3 vendors, Pinard, Waste Management, and Casella by years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the MSW is the curbside collection for trash. Then there's the cost for the recycling. So the cost for the recycling is an average using 400 tons, which is the average collected. And then the variable is the cost per ton for disposal. So Casella is down 125 and Pinard's highest is 140. But it could be reduced based off of actual cost at the time. This is just an estimate.
See, I actually studied too, see, I did it straight.
The hauling rate and per ton disposal, everything in that orange color is something that would have to add that per ton disposal. So you have the hauling rate and then the per ton disposal would be for like the C&D dumpster, the highway shed that you would be dumping. And then they would also.
Unless we call Bob,
And then they'd also charge a rental fee to have the dumpster there. So these rental fees is based if you wanted to have the dumpster there year round. If you don't, if you just want to store this stuff at the highway shed somewhere,
don't we own dumpsters over there?
we do, but he doesn't use them. The dumpster that's there is
I
a
know they
Pinard
are.
dumpster, so Pinard roll away.
And Bernard charges for it?
They don't right now, but they will have to start.
Sure.
So this is if you're going to have the dumpster there all the time.
What if we asked them for free?
I don't think that they would do it. Right now, it's for free and it's a loss for Pinard.
You know, when you look at the numbers for Casella, you know, that kind of shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though the straight pickup is 7,000 greater
Mm-hmm.
than Pinard, you look at the other ones, and I mean.
The recycling is so low, right?
Yes,
Well, I think,
Why
I
is it
think Bernard,
62,000? Where'd you get the 100 and?
Because it's 62,000, but then you have to add in, so it says 62,000 and then it says processing formula ACR 125 per ton. So 62,000 is the collection cost for year one, and then you have a per ton disposal fee for all of the recyclables that they collect.
Okay, oh, okay, because
So
I,
the average collection is 400 annually, so I did the 33, it's like 33.33 tons per month. So times 125, and that's how I came up with that number.
and I believe Pinard actually goes to Casella's facility.
Yes,
So-
in Allenstown.
So it would make sense that they would be less expensive if it's their own facility to start with, so.
Yeah.
But then they're hitting us on recycling.
No.
Well,
Well, it's-
that's across the country. I mean,
Right.
since China has refused
right,
all of our garbage, everything is tripled and quadrupled
right.
as far as charges.
Yeah.
So the Pinard recycled cost could go down because it was, and they said they will charge you what it actually is. So if it's $100, it's $100.
Right.
This is a not to exceed recycle budget. So they said they will not go over the 140. So this is the max that you would pay for Pinard. Casella's is variable. It could go up.
So
depending on what the market
Casella's could go up, it's not locked.
Right.
There was, the collection is locked, but the per ton disposal, it's whatever you pay for what you get rid of.
That way it is now, right?
Right.
Could we pay
Well,
waste
for rec-
management?
We pay, right now, we pay
We have Pinard.
collection for Pinard to
Right.
pick up the recycling, but we don't pay for disposal. So right now, we're paying like 45,000 for recycling collection, and that's it. So when we signed the contract with Pinard, the deal was that they could sell all of that stuff and make money, and now they can't now, it's
Not
a
a
huge
nickel.
loss for them.
In fact, one thing we should keep in mind, in Greenland, the our Coakley landfill
Right.
is now under the federal EPA jurisdiction, and Northampton owns 7% of $179 million of cleanup. Okay? Because we go to turnkey Rochester, they just recently opened another 20 acres for disposal. Our neighbors to the south in Haverhill will, in emergency situations, take a load or something. But for the most part, they don't want us. So we have a good contract with them in Rochester. And
With who?
And Casella has also, their
Turnkey.
Turnkey,
which is owned by.
a subsidiary of Waste Management. And I should have given this to you a couple weeks ago, but this is the contract for, and the stuff that we had from our Wednesday, October 23rd meeting. Now, they were supposed to email it to you, that's what I was told. Did you ever get it?
Pete LaChapelle emailed it to me last week.
Amy Thibault is the most scatterbrained individual, besides Phyllis, that I've ever.
Hey, give it back.
Well, I take it back. Anyway,
So Casella was $300,000 cheaper over the
Yeah.
life of the contract.
I mean, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. I would make a.
Casella's
motion.
is $300,000.
Except that it could change.
It's variable, right?
Well, just the disposal, so
Per ton.
I included the escalator in here and the average. So the only thing that could change is that rate, it could go up.
And those numbers are the same across the board.
Right.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
Even if you added in 160 grand and matched the Penards, you'd still be cheaper than.
Yeah.
So I'll make a proposal that we go with Casella for $1,577,763 for the life of the contract.
So I have a couple questions first.
Okay.
So.
I'm glad it was only a proposal, not a motion.
Yeah.
So Casella's quote was based off of going to Wheelabrator in North Andover, but they have agreed that they would go to Rochester Turnkey and match this price.
Okay.
One of their other proposals is to change collection days to Monday and Tuesday instead of Tuesday and Wednesday.
Would it save us money?
It doesn't save you money, it saves them money, and he said it would not cost more money to keep Tuesday and Wednesday, so I would like to not change. I don't
I
wanna.
would keep it the same, if that's not gonna
I don't
save me any
wanna-
money. Now, if he wants to renegotiate and say, I'll take 10% off,
The only reason why I would say not to change is because there's more Monday holidays.
That's
which
correct.
Screws up,
Okay.
pick up.
Besides, they don't go to Andy's house anyway, so they don't have to worry about it.
That's true.
well, he just drops it off in the library, that's why they have no.
Well, on the holiday
Never done
route,
with that.
they are also
maybe
proposing more
not talk to me.
holidays.
Say that
More
again.
holidays than,
So we propose New Year's, Christmas, and 4th of July. They're proposing adding Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, and Labor Day.
Now,
That's
is
fine,
that,
because none of those are Mondays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
No, they're all Mondays, except Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so fine.
So
If we don't do Monday, then it doesn't affect us.
no.
I agree.
If you stay with a Tuesday,
If
Wednesday.
we say with Tuesday, Wednesday. And one more point is that they are asking for, they would like you to consider a fuel surcharge if fuel should exceed $3.50 per gallon.
No. They're asking,
We
I'm
considered
just
it.
asking.
did you consider it?
Those are the points
I
that
did.
we have.
No.
Okay, so now I'm ready for motion.
Should it go above $3.50 a gallon? I don't say that they couldn't come back and talk to us.
Yeah, they could make it.
Why would I sign a contract?
Well, according to Judge Judy, if it's not in the four corners, it doesn't
It
count.
could fade if,
There's no good faith. It's black and white.
Casella?
Casella,
It's a gamble to go 5 years out.
pay attention, Robert.
1577763.
Point.
00,
And what's the
That's my
payout
motion.
schedule with?
not to exceed.
Right, what's the payouts? Does it change any, it's
We
not
just
any,
pay monthly.
same?
So.
We're paying less now. This is gonna hit
Well,
our
no,
budget.
Oh, yeah.
But this
I
will
know,
hit you
but
by
it's-
July 1.
Yeah.
Our contract with Penard stays the same through June.
We're gonna have to, have we even done this budget yet?
No, because
No.
I didn't know what this was gonna
No.
look like.
So,
We'll have to do that going forward, but
yeah,
we've got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
and we did our due diligence, so
So
we're out to
nothing's
bid
gonna
for
change,
free,
the
so.
budget's gonna be, looking at what's going forward with the things that we have, I think is always the way it goes.
All right, my motion has been made. Was there
Is there
a
a
second?
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anything else?
And I apologize for calling you wacky.
Well, thank you.
Crazy, yes, but not wacky.
At least he didn't ask you if you had wacky tobacco.
You don't smoke, do you?
I'm not sure that this.
It's not helping, I'm sorry. I offered gavel.
Oh, let's see.
She almost took it. That's the scariest part, she actually reached.
So this is the annual registration to maintain our membership in the DOT consortium. It's level funded at 190.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is for random drug testing?
Random drug testing for DOT.
Maybe we'll get some employees to test.
Maybe.
You never know. Why we have that dog? He's a tester.
Reads Across America is December 14th at noon at the town rate. Is anyone of the
I'll be
selectmen
there.
going to read the publication?
I'm going.
And you'll be,
I'll be there.
one of you will
Oh,
read.
this Saturday?
It's Saturday, December 14th, 4 days from now.
I'm trying to look at my notes, my notes are buried in there
Bill
somewhere.
will read.
Maybe I'll show up then. Is it new?
Maybe I'll show
It was supposed to be rainy and lousy.
Bob's question mark. Bob's
So,
questionable, but might show.
As
So
long as
don't-
you commit.
so don't show up with the Jeep without the top of the door, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
I can't do that 2 Saturdays in a
You
row.
might get wet.
I got sick
Yeah, we'll see.
last time.
Chief
I'm
Ar-
sick today.
I still feel sick.
Chief Archari would like to repost the ACO position.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay?
Do we have it in the budget?
Yeah.
We already kept it in the budget?
We haven't seen it.
Well, it's in the
It's a
2019
dollar.
budget. I haven't seen the 20, well, you've
We
seen the
haven't seen the
2020 budget.
2020.
I haven't seen
We
it.
haven't seen it 2020.
It was in the 20s, in the big spreadsheet,
We haven't been
She
looking. at those.
emailed those to us.
October 17th.
I'm
So
not
what
printing
that
them off
tells you is
because
that the
they-
rest of the board is
98
apparently not been as prepared as they could have been.
It also tells me that, I know she's been working on that $70,000 that was in
I
it,
hope
had
so.
come up,
Yes,
so.
and I need to email
Therefore, I
you.
didn't look at it because I wanted to make sure that,
It's the correct number as
No,
opposed to.
I wanted to stay calm.
Yeah.
You're still not coming?
It's still not
okay?
coming.
So we're okay with, her posting the ACO position in town?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is there a motion in a second?
yes, yes, yes.
All in favor?
Right.
Is that a second?
Yeah, we have a motion in a second.
Sure. That's it.
Well, I have two
Wow.
things.
Okay.
I think we should give Wayne's partner, Skip,
Skip.
$100 too, because he stayed with Wayne through all that snowstorm.
Actually, Wayne did more than that, and I know that because I actually went to the highway department 3 different times and Wayne was there by himself.
Because Kip.
While they all went home to go nap. No, I asked him where they were, and he sent them home.
Because Wayne.
Wayne was working on his budget, and I was like, dude,
Gotta go take a rest too.
you need to take care of yourself too, because you're driving. And so, and because he's salaried, you know, we had one employee that was getting paid an hourly rate. I had another employee that's salary, that's definitely going above and beyond.
Right.
And the only reason I made that motion to recognize him for that, not that I want to give everyone a participation trophy, I made that motion because I felt he had gone above and beyond, and we needed to recognize the fact that he was doing that. And I specifically told him, it's for you and your wife, because
Right.
I want you to, I want to thank her for giving you up during the snowstorm too.
Okay.
Because I know what my wife
Second
wants.
thing, right?
me
And
to
then the
help out.
second thing is, do we have a snow policy for closing?
We should have.
If it's snowing, Karen closes.
I only have
No.
the authority to close my office, so I only have authority over Gloria. That I was given a few.
Usually, I think you sent me some emails and then we.
I sent you an email
Yeah.
Sunday night and said, should we be,
Yeah.
and I never heard anything till 8 o'clock the next morning, but there ought to be a policy, a snow policy.
Well,
Do you know what other towns have, Andy?
They don't.
Oh, I tried to go online.
Did you have to open it?
Yes.
me too.
No policy.
So I'll research some snow policies. I would like to see some sort of parameters so that
Just so
everybody
you know,
here
yeah,
knows
so everybody knows.
ahead
Right.
of time, so that nobody's rushing around in the morning waiting for a
Right.
text message from.
Right.
Yeah, because I know you,
I'd like to have
Andrea
more
was coming in, I
organized.
think on Tuesday. and-
But I know it didn't work out for us because the commute Monday morning was much better than the commute Tuesday
I know,
morning.
I know.
Yeah, true.
And then the Tuesday, they had no choice to come in to do payroll.
Right,
Right.
But
right. I just think we need a
Yeah,
policy
you-
that's.
if you could
I
do a
did
pop,
give Gloria the opt-out option, I did.
like Andy, that we don't close.
I mean, I can tell you, I know my
I'm lucky I'm
company
close,
shut down their
but-
offices. Unfortunately, I work from home, so that didn't really work for me. They shut down the offices for Monday, but I know on Tuesday they said late opening, 10 o'clock.
Well, I never had a problem because I
I
was
think the
closed,
schools did the
okay,
same
so,
thing, didn't they?
but
No, they
the
canceled.
people that
No,
have
they
to
closed.
travel.
That's right, 'cause teenagers were still,
So going forward, we'll have some kind of parameters so that everybody knows what they're going to be. That's probably good.
Well, what's the plan?
Well, it's kind of like the schools, the superintendent,
We could go on that schedule, that could be
we
an
could
easy.
do, that could be an easy fix, you go on with, going on with the schools.
We used to do that, didn't we?
The problem with that is that not everybody has a school,
If the courthouse is open or closed, did you guys close the courthouse?
yeah, the courthouse is closed once, and that's when the septic system.
So they were open up both Monday and Tuesday?
Both days, yeah, Monday and Tuesday.
So the governor has to, I actually did some research on this, because one of my officers
Governor
had
has to declare
grand jury on Monday. The governor has to declare a state of emergency, and then the clerk of courts has to get that information and make notification. So if the governor doesn't declare a state of emergency, the court is open.
Wow. I don't know, I like the SAU thing, that's me.
That would be an easy, for the town, that would be an easy solution.
Not-
It would be because it's on TV.
And everybody would get the
Yeah, yeah.
information.
Not to diss the SAU,
Yeah.
they have a lot of snow days.
No, you're wrong. Last year, he reduced the snow days by like 6 or something.
He actually got yelled at for that.
Yeah.
I don't care. He reduced the snow
Right,
days.
no, I agree with you, but it seems that the school closes quicker than it should
He didn't
sometimes.
cancel this one until it was like,
Well, what if it,
4 in the morning.
would be just SAU if it was, if Swayze was closed?
Well, Swayze's closed with the
Goes on
SAU.
the school SAU.
Yeah, because they closed with the SAU.
Couldn't we just set some parameters that if during the hours of 8 to 4, we're gonna expect, 6+ inches of snow or winds of whatever, that we can know that we won't be open that day, so that,
And I think you're the only one that has to be notified, and you notify
but
everybody
we can
else.
I can work with Wayne to figure out what the weather pattern is gonna be, and then we can set parameters that way,
Yeah, I'm okay with
instead
that.
of relying on other agencies to
Yeah.
keep waiting.
Yeah, we should be our own, you're right.
And then on that note, when we have one person that lives an hour away. So that person, when that person comes up for a replacement computer system, I'd like to replace that system with a desktop.
A laptop.
Laptop, yeah.
So that in those instances, if we're closed, if they needed to do some duties from home, that they. could
I'd like to look at doing a laptop with a docking station.
Right, so that they would use it
Docking
here.
station here, they can bring the laptop back and
Right.
forth, but that way if they go home, because I could tell you, I have a docking station and it's
I had
Right,
one
that
for
way it's
years.
not an added cost.
double
It's just
monitor
one
and
of the
video, yeah.
systems.
But is that employee,
critical.
no, public, like, there's not too many jobs here that doesn't require dealing with the public. So if you're at home, you really can't deal with the public.
Right.
Which part they were from?
Wasn't that way? Like, I guess it depends whether or not.
What's he
you-
doing on a computer for rec?
Right.
He might be doing
just
ski programs.
Well, I mean, that's checking emails and just keeping up so you're not falling behind.
Right, but I don't think that should classify as a work from home then. You can check your emails and do whatever, but I don't know if that's
And
necessarily.
he can get his emails over his phone too, I do that.
Yeah, I get my emails on.
I have no problem with the laptop with a workstation, and he can go wherever with his laptop, but I'm just not sure if I'm okay with him being a
Well, I'm not
telecommuter.
talking about, no, that's not what I'm talking about, like in these instances where we're having a snow day, and maybe he's not gonna make, I mean, he's not gonna drive 2 hours here on a snow day, so maybe those are the days he takes it home and then he has that functionality. But for the, I mean, he would still remain regular office hours here during the week.
Right, but is he getting paid on the snow day to stay at home?
Well, if we were closed, then everybody would be paid.
We should be taking vacation days if we're closed.
Oh, I don't
think
think
if
so.
the
No, I see, the money's in the budget, so it isn't costing anything, I don't believe that.
No,
Well, and then you have what happens to the police and firefighters that have to come to work that don't get that extra time off, and highway.
Well, there, it
Well,
should be
it's
called
their occupation.
essential
they're
person.
getting an extra 10% into their retirement. 15%,
It should be
40%.
essential personnel.
I guess my feeling is if we're gonna have to use earned time, then it should be up to that individual person whether or not they
Come in
feel
or not?
safe enough to come in or not. And the
Yeah,
building is
I
open
don't
by
think
whoever
you should
comes.
have to use
No, I would not.
I think if the board is gonna make the call to close the building, then it should be.
I'm sorry, Andy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ugh.
That's odd.
What's happening
I don't
here?
know, they closed our office and I still had to work, so.
Well, I had a home office for 15 years, I know exactly. My slipper compute worked all the time. And I used to have to throw Ellen out of the office.
If we officially close the town office, I think everybody should just be paid.
Right, the money's in the budget, it's not like it's costing
No,
you
it's
extra.
extra money, no.
I don't know.
Although having said that, I will tell you, if I don't go to work, I don't get paid.
Right.
But if that's your choice, then that's,
Get another job.
I like my job.
Well, no, I believe if the courthouse is closed, you still don't get paid.
Correct.
Well, see, you're a county employee, that's the difference.
If the governor declares a state of emergency, I'm not gonna get paid. Although I
so
don't.
we're gonna research this and we can do another subject
Yeah.
another time.
I think you have the votes to overrule me, so it really doesn't matter.
You wanna make a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
While you're in this spirit
Do
of,
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
Nay, I'm gonna stay with him.
Of course you would, man.
Losers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whack it again.
Then it'll be 2-2.
He got gambled yesterday twice.
I think
Once.
you need to get
No,
something
he
to hit
hit
that
big
with.
twice.
Let's not be
I was laughing,
talking
it's like,
about the
wow.
table. Hey, hey,
He was
let's
wrong.
get you a
Did
thing
he
for
scratch
that.
it?
It should, I hit
No,
the paper.
No.
Oh, the rich dent.
Did you, oh, you dented my table.
Unbelievable, no reputation.
Yeah,
Damn.
hit the speaker.
We should have used the blocks, we could have molded them
Yes.
together and
We
made
should
a.
have sang happy birthday to Andy for his
Oh,
birthday.
well, we're still looking.
She's not singing anything to me, I want to take money away from
There's
her.
cupcakes in the kitchen.
There's cupcakes in the kitchen?
Alright,
Other ones too.
It sounds like we're.
Happy birthday to Andy, everyone knows.
There's one viewer left,
One viewer,
And,
please send an email, wish him a happy birthday.
Alright.
and
He's 93 today.
I believe Ken wants to recognize the town employees for creating a amazing Christmas party.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
They did a fantastic job.
it was very good, and I think there was more people there this year than last year.
Yeah, it was great. I'm sorry you guys didn't make it, but
And I also
Yeah,
wanted
sure.
to,
Who's well attended?
I want to make sure I take this time to also, because I know the camera shut off yesterday, and I recognized Scott Dennehy from the school board, his father-in-law, his wife Tina. She lost her father yesterday,
Oh,
and he still
really?
showed up to support their budget at the budget committee meeting. So I just wanted
She's
to
actually
recognize
having
him.
a church on Sunday, I didn't know that.
He passed away in his sleep yesterday morning, so.
Okay.
So I just wanted
They
to
came
recognize
to
him.
6 o'clock.
And with that, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
amen.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Hey,
fingers off.
this,